Oh, hey, microphones. It's like it's our first day on the air. I'm really waiting for these earbuds to just be like, I don't know, the ones I use the rest of the day that just are the microphone too. What's up with that?
I know, right?
What's up with that, Devin? Why doesn't it work that way?
They sound like trash. That's why.
Okay, fair.
All right,
So
good
I have
morning.
this giant thing in my face for the reasons of sound quality. It's a good reason.
All right.
Hey, Scott.
Scott, Laurie.
I'm fighting with this thing.
Laurie kicking off in the new role. How are things going? Awesome.
That's fantastic.
That's great. That's great. You bet. You bet. We've been excited and watching you with great interest, as the emperor would say. Watching your career with great interest. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yay, I'm so excited.
Definitely. We're definitely going to do a retrospective on that, Laurie. I would love to do a retro with you after you've kind of gotten through these first couple of months and go through, and we'll upgrade that for next year. Kind of keep working on it.
Yeah, we should definitely do some clips. Both you've said some very nice things about that, or how it was helpful for you, as well as some others here, that may not be on right now. But it'd be great to just, kind of get the heads together and say what was great about it, or how did it help you, getting started in your year or your new role. So that'd be good to capture too.
So let me. So we got a few new faces here. So if you haven't been here to Product Coffee before, welcome. We're glad to have you. And what we're going to do here for about the first half hour is this: we're going to drink some coffee and we're going to talk to each other, get to know each other, talk about what's on our mind, what has our attention right now is kind of my favorite question, and that means what are you thinking about in terms of product management, especially. It can be something else, but we're really focusing on maybe a challenge that you're trying to solve, maybe a victory you want to celebrate. You had a successful launch. You did something you're really proud of that you'd just like to share what you learned from it, or something that you'd like to share what you learned so that maybe other people don't make a mistake that you made. Just kind of help us get to know not only who you are, but what you're doing and what's important to you right now from a professional's perspective. And the way I do that is, if your camera is on, we will invite you to introduce yourself. You may want to introduce yourself anyway. If you can't have your camera on, you can just raise your virtual hand using Zoom and we'll call on you. But if your camera's on, we would love to get around and get to know you a little bit. And we were just, and I want to
breathe.
Pause. Thank
Kim.
You. Super casual here first thing. Good morning, Kim. Yeah. So I see we've got Steve Curry on. We haven't seen you for a while. Steve, how are you?
Tell us what's keeping you busy. Where you been? Who you know? What's up? What's new? Love it. I mean, I saw your note. I apologize. It autocorrects the typing here, but we saw it. Focus on your errands. We'll get back.
All right, so let's see here. Kim, how are you? Good morning. Welcome back.
That was sarcasm, wasn't it? Yeah.
Please do.
We'd love to have both of you. Hi, my name is. Oh.
Awesome.
That's a key part, yeah.
Awesome. So glad to have you back. And not to make light of very important, very serious issues, but you introduce yourself. I'm Kim. I'm a product manager, and the first step to solving a problem is recognizing that you have one.
True. Yeah. But I love that you said that, Jason, because I mean, Kim, I'm sure you've experienced this with your consulting practice before. Lori, I'm sure you have, and many others here. Scott, for sure. But I know when I've done that at any size company, really, it's the first thing is getting people to know that they have a problem. And when you fight, and especially a bigger company like Lori, you mentioned 50 years, like you're trying it, NCR, a company who's been around for 135 years and thinks they know everything about everything, right? And they will not admit that they have a problem. It's like, so strange. People aren't buying these things anymore. But there's nothing wrong. The products are great.
Mm-hmm.
The company is
They just
fabulous.
don't
We have
understand.
nothing wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I understand. I went through something similar as the head of product and commercial strategy, and they said that did not exist in the future of the company. So yeah, they're not going to have products or strategy. It's going to work great.
And I'm not going to make you come on camera because it's your first time, but I do want to welcome Laurel and Vishnavi for the first time here at Product Coffee. Welcome to Product Coffee. Hope you enjoy your time here today. We're going to have a great town hall discussion. And if you do want to introduce yourself, flip that camera on, and we will be happy to let you do so.
And Manesh let us know he is doing some errands.
Okay.
So he is going to join at the end of the time slot, like
All
towards
right.
8, and hopefully we'll get to have him introduce himself on camera.
Sounds good. And some days we end up with 30 people this early. Some days we end up with a baker's dozen like we have right now, and we just kind of hang out.
I'm kind of partial to this. I'm going to say this on the recorded line. I'm kind of partial to the small audience. You get to know people a little bit better, right? It really does feel like we're actually hanging out, having our coffee, and getting to talk versus like, when we have the large amount and we can't even call on everybody that's new, it kind of feels a little less deeply entrenched in the
You're right. There's definitely balance to be had. And I know that, we can sit here and fill space until we kick off at 8 o'clock, but it's really nice. And I see Laurel has turned on her camera. So Laurel, hey, welcome. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Only if you want to see.
Okay. Yeah. I
I don't find. I
Yep.
had several recently where people were trying to hire me for a Java developer position, and I found that intriguing because I'm like, what did you read in my profile that made you think that I would be good at that?
Could have been the same one. Oh, that was kind of them.
Yeah. I'm sure you need that.
So, well, welcome. So, let us know how that works out for you, Laurel. I'm curious if you would please, since you're new, tell us a little bit about your background and the types of products you've worked on. Kind of some of the areas that you are really excited about for your next role. Okay.
Oh.
Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
I love that.
100% true. That subject matter expertise, that deep awareness of the market, the customers, and what you didn't say is that we worked together for a little while.
Oh, did you know?
Uh-huh.
Gets interesting. I'm gonna lean back. Tell us all about that.
Not closely, but we were both at Acoustic at the same time, so we overlapped there a little bit. No, not at all. Huh?
Well, she's proud of it too.
Okay.
There you go, folks. She's like, nope, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Very interesting.
Huh,
Yeah.
interesting. Well,
Oh,
yeah,
you're right. Wrong Laurel.
I know you. Sorry, I was gonna say. I know you mentioned that you were looking here in the beginning, but with some of the things you listed out there, and your point, the subject matter expertise. Again. You're absolutely right. And with some of that, there's probably some new channels that still are like things really well, like payments, right? Think of all the things that are payments. When you look at the jobs that are out there right now, like any financial institution product role, there's so much that touches payments. So that jumped to my mind because I did the same thing you did with being a subject matter expert in the field, which was I worked in banking or back office operations for 12 years. And by the time I ran a financial institution, basically I somehow accidentally became a product manager, and the rest is history. Oh, come on. Payments are so sexy. How you move money from one place to another? Come on. Everybody needs that.
Just hand it to me. That's how. Yep.
That's right. There you go. Well said. Hey, George. It's good to see you, my friend. And hello, Kim's kitty. I'm always excited to see a kitty. The downside of doing this in the studio is hey, George. We've had 100% less of Holly's cats.
Yes,
on
we
Product
have.
Coffee. And they were the cats of Product Coffee.
They
We got to
were.
bring them back.
Somewhere lurking in the AI coach on the premium hub is the answer to the question, how many cats does Holly have?
The AI knows.
It did it one time.
It's always how many walked into the house. Literally, guys, a fun story. Like opened the front door the other day, and the one that's been living on the porch for a long time. I rescued her as a kitten. She's only decided that she wanted to be an indoor cat and just boldly walked in the house. I had one inside the house trying to get out, and one outside who came in. And so I was like, do I chase the one that just got out, or now I go back in the living room and there's a fight about to happen between the new cat and the other one that's sitting in the living room. It was exciting. I love it, Lori. You're so right.
Well played. Yep.
Yeah. Sometimes it just, I love it.
Well, we
beautiful.
we know what our 2025 calendar is going to be, the Cats of Product Coffee. Yeah.
I like it.
So I see that Vishnavi, who is new, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, has turned your camera on. Why don't you come forward and introduce yourself?
And if we're not pronouncing correctly, just correct us.
Correct us, please.
Totally fine with that.
Well, welcome. We're absolutely glad to have you.
So we're all about helping us all be better, right? No matter how long you've been doing this. I mean, Scott is very early in his career. He's just getting started too. But no matter how long you've been doing this, you could definitely learn some more things. So that's why we're all here. So I love it.
That's absolutely true. We also have another new face. Your camera's not on, so I won't make you come up and introduce yourself. If you want to turn on your camera, please do, and we'll welcome you that way. But Damon Hughes is here for the first time. Glad to have you here at Product Coffee. And what we're doing here, for those who are just joining, is we're just doing some chat and getting to know each other. And if your camera's on, we will offer you the opportunity to introduce yourself and say hello and tell us what has your attention. And let's jump over to Donna Orban. Hey, Donna. Good morning.
I understand. So what have you been doing? It's been a minute since we've seen you, babe.
Okay. So when you say you manage the Scrum teams, are you managing backlog prioritization? Are you serving as Scrum Master? Kind of what level of management are you doing? Gotcha. Cool. Well, thank you. Glad to have you back. You've been here since the beginning, and we're glad you're still here. So
I'm so excited to have you back again. I know it's been a minute, and I'm excited. Oh no. Org, yeah. Boss and all the fun things. Yeah. Oh, well, fingers crossed. That's exciting. And isn't that always the way it sucks when it's like you have that production issue and that's when you really needed the drink, right? Like you really needed to come to happy hour that day.
Maybe if you
Never
let us
fails.
know next time, we'll bring happy hour to you.
There you go. Right? Right?
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, we do here, we're based in Atlanta. We're a global community. But since we started in Atlanta, we do regular happy hour events every month. There's a few product management organizations here in town, Product Coffee, Product Camp Atlanta, and Product ATL. And we get together once a month and just have a networking happy hour. And we're really anxious to do those in some other cities. So if you want to gather together 10 or 15 people, we will be happy to come join you for a happy hour wherever you are and just have a Product Coffee happy hour where you are and try to bring some more people out.
And we are global, and to Jason's point earlier, and we both traveled globally for work for many, many years. So just to point out that we can come to Canada too.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have passports. They will still let us in. He may not be allowed back, but I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm good.
Yeah, and if you want us to come to India or Australia, it'll take a little bit more planning, but we'll figure it out. Yeah.
We're product people. We can plan things.
That's right. So once again, if your camera is on, I would love to invite you to introduce yourself, and I'm going to say hi to Manesh. Okay.
And I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly, and I apologize. I'm from Texas, and I can pronounce almost nothing.
Doing great. Good morning. Welcome.
So introduce yourself.
Please, please. Okay, Manjeesh.
Manjeesh.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Mm-hmm.
Important, yeah. Oh, I was agreeing with you. I said, but very important. Awesome.
Very good. Well, welcome. Glad to have you. So let me ask you, since this is your first, since this is the first time we're meeting you on camera today, what brought you to Product Coffee? What are you looking to hear here today? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right.
Awesome.
Well, welcome. Glad to have you. Glad to have you here. Hope it's a really valuable experience for you and that we'll see you back again and again.
And bring your friends. I'm a huge fan of food and beverage, so I'm excited to have somebody from that space. Cheers. Oh, no.
Let's run out to Denver and say hi to Scott. Hey, Scott.
Hmm. Hmm.
Great. Love hearing that. Yeah, we had a great discussion around building a marketing framework around your value proposition. If you are a premium member, that is already in the archives, and it'll be on our YouTube channel in about 3 months if you missed it. So, yeah. So great to that might be a good clip to put out there though. That some of that Carol stuff. So I'll go back and find it. Awesome. So welcome back, Scott. Always great to have you here. You're always a great contributor here as well. Always dropping a lot of great insights and perspectives into the conversation. So, yes.
So fun being in the studio. I just want to comment that when Jason looks like he's talking to himself like he did just then, he's probably talking to our awesome producer who's behind camera. And I think you've got a side shot of Dev in there with the Podium Studios light over his head. But
there we go.
There you go. That's what's happening. It's not really that crazy. It's pretty crazy, but it's not that crazy.
And Devin's not only our producer, but he's also, do you have a microphone on over there
I do.
today? All right. Well, Devin's not only our producer, he's also a member. So, Devin, why don't you say hi?
It's true.
Oh, let me.
Product coffee.
There we go. Hi, I'm Devin. I guess I ought to put my face up there. That's weird. Putting my own face up there. Hi, Devin. One of the co-founders here at Podium Studios, and also a product strategy and marketing strategy consultant. So do something very similar to you, Scott, and Kim. And yes, amazing, Manjeet. You talked about the lack of intrigue in B2B marketing. That's one of the things that I purposefully try to stamp out when I work with clients. I've spent a lot of time in B2B, and my saying to them always is, the same person who gets marketed to buy Tide Pods is the same person that buys Salesforce. So we should be marketing to them the same way because it's the same human.
That's a good point. I love that you said that. 100%. Save the Dolphins.
Agreed. Yes, 1,000% agreed. And also, my first life was in advertising as well, so kindred spirits.
Neither one of you is old enough to. Neither one of you is old enough to have been in Mad Men. So, sorry, Bo. Say that again. You know we're very picky about our sponsors here, Bo. We're very picky about our sponsors. Speaking
All
of,
right. Speaking of our sponsors, I do want to thank everybody for being here. We're about to kick this program off for the day, but I would love to. There we go.
Thanks, Kim.
Now
I was
we know
hearing
that's
too. That was me
happening,
doing
too.
this. I was like, what is happening?
What, you don't want two of me?
Oh God,
You
no.
wanted two of Kim, not two of Jason?
I'll take two of Kim.
All right. So, hey, we want to thank. So we do this global virtual meetup every week. I think we take 4 weeks a year off or something like that. But we're here almost every Wednesday, and we couldn't make it. It wouldn't be possible without all of our sponsors. And I want to specifically call out our diamond sponsors, Method and Podium Studios. You've met Devin. I don't think we have anybody on from Method today, but I'm going to drop some links here in the chat, and would love to ask everyone to please check out all of our sponsors, get to know them. This program would not exist without them. It's free to you most of the time. We do have a ticket charge, but so often our sponsors cover that for you, just to make sure that we can have what we need to be successful with this program. So get to know them, reach out to them, introduce yourselves, make connections, and if you have an opportunity to introduce them to someone in your company or your network, please do. That's how you show your appreciation for them supporting our community.
100%.
Yep. And we've also got coming up.
More awesome stuff.
Yes,
There's
we
so
do.
much awesome stuff.
I want you. It looks like I may have something out of order here.
You do.
Okay, well, let's do this then. There we go.
Yay.
Coming up this Friday is our workshop, Craft and Convey, the Essential Value Proposition Workshop. And Devin has put this together based on his, how many decades of experience? I'm not going to call out your actual age, so you can say what you want. Two decades of experience working in advertising, marketing, product management, design, and has become masterful at helping product teams build their value proposition and communicate it effectively. And one of the big problems that we see on an ongoing basis is that people have a value proposition, but they can't clearly articulate it and they're not using it well. As a matter of fact, we put together a list of 10 big mistakes that product teams make with their value proposition in the first place. And you go over to productcoffee.com/toolbox and download that, and somebody can drop that in the chat if you would too. You can download that list of mistakes, and we're going to talk about that on Friday and how to avoid them. And specifically, we're going to work on building your value proposition in a way that brings a lot of leverage and power to the communications that you have throughout your company. So,
Thanks, Lori. And I was just going to jump and say I'm super excited for it. I know I said this last week, but at the risk of being a broken record, I think for many of us in any generation of product role, like, it's so easy to not have a good value prop, right? You inherited a product, you come in and they assure you that you have one. And then if you ever manage to find a record of it, you go, that's not a value proposition,
right?
Whatever, right? It's like some rambling statement that sounds like they just want global domination. And it's not really at all telling you what the product, is targeting or trying to solve or any of that good stuff, right? So sometimes you can make it surprisingly far in your product career without really getting to learn hands-on how to craft a good value proposition.
Yep.
I've lived that. I know many on my team and PMs I've had work for me have been in that boat. And so I'm super excited to actually have a workshop where we go through creating one, avoiding those mistakes, and creating a good one. And, again, broken record, but it's so important, even if you have one and you did it, and I'm not saying it's not good, to go back and redo it all the time, right? So hope you'll join us on Friday. And then the next time you revisit yours and tweak it, you can make it even betterer.
Yep. As a matter of fact, I just want to real quickly, we got about 30 people on the call here, and if you're out there watching on Zoom or out there watching on YouTube or LinkedIn, you can do this as well. By show of hands, virtual hands, you can use an emoji or a +1. In the Zoom, just use your hand. If you can rattle off right now your product value prop or the product value prop of the last product that you worked on, if you're currently in between roles, if you can rattle it off right now, raise your hand. I'm waiting.
Scott.
I'm waiting. There's one. I see Scott. There's a couple.
DJ.
We got a couple. Right. So you guys are excused. Everybody else needs to come to the workshop on Friday. And that is free for premium members. You can go to productcoffee.com/premium, get a free trial, and check that out if you want to, or you can if you download that checklist that we just sent you, can get 25% off just a single ticket price. So love to see you on Friday.
A company, whether you work there or not, has one that's so catchy and so memorable that it just literally comes to mind every time you think of them, you know?
Yep.
Like Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
I also want to, my book club overlay's not popping up, Devin. Let's show that real quick because I'm not going to go into details. We're starting our next round of the Product Coffee Book Club as well, and that is coming up this Friday as well, I believe.
In the afternoon, right?
In the afternoon. Productcoffee.com/book club to sign up and get details. We'll put a meeting on your calendar. You can get all the details. We're going to be reading as a group, Good Strategy, Bad Strategy. Yeah.
For those who have been eagerly waiting the reveal of the book. That is it. Yep, and it's free for all. Would love to have you join us. It's another way you can engage with the community and just kind of carry your product management and your professional knowledge forward. Laurel, I love your comment in the chat. I was about to call you out on that, saying I know Laurel's going to be there because I saw all the shelves behind her. She's clearly an avid reader, so you got no excuses. Thank you, Allison Belforti. Next Friday, April the 4th. Thank you. I'm ahead of myself. That makes more sense. So thank you. So that's a community-led initiative here at Product Coffee. We have a crew, our Product Coffee librarian, Allison Herbert, along with Manesh Patel and Brandy. What's Brandy? Reeves. Is she keeping Reeves? So Brandy Reeves kind of run that book club a few times a year. Would love to have you join us there. All right. So let's get into our program. But before we do that, I want to talk about. Where is the thing that I did wrong before? Come on. Nope. There we go. There we go. My buttons are... Bear with us, guys. There we go. So head over to productcoffee.com/notes. For those of you who are new with us, one of the things that we do as part of the community is we take notes together. Instead of taking notes for just yourself, jot down any questions or insights that you have. Please help us keep a written record of what we talk about today. If you think of books or articles that you've seen that would be very helpful as part of our discussion, drop them in the notes document. You can bookmark that link or save it in your own Google Drive, and you'll have it for forever. And we will also include this with the show archive notes in our premium section, and that'll be available to you to look at later on as well. Easy to get to. So join us at productcoffee.com/notes. It is actually working this week, so we're ready to go with that. So. Now, Holly, tell us what we're doing today. Thanks. Well, I'm excited as always for the programming part because you guys know that's what I do is try the programming side of things here at Product Coffee. So our March has been focused on value proposition and marketing strategies. This week we're kind of bringing it all back together, right? Pre-workshop, which is again something I'm so looking forward to. But we've talked about value prop. At a high level already this month. And then we talked about, what are some ways to tie that into your marketing? What are things you need to be thinking about with your marketing as you go from there? Then last week we kind of talked about marketing framework a little bit. And so this week we're kind of bringing it all back together and going, okay, how does that impact our marketing strategy? What is that overall? And how is that our competitive game plan, right? So, we all know that a marketing strategy is essentially the company's long-term plan for achieving their goals by understanding the needs of customers, which means you need to know them, to Kim's earlier point, right, who they are, and creating a distinct, and this is my favorite part, right, sustainable competitive advantage, right? A lot of times companies focus on the distinct and forget the sustainable part, or how to keep it going ongoing. So that's what we want to dig into today. All right. And for those of you who don't know me and Holly, if you're new here, my name's Jason Brett. As I said earlier, we do this every Wednesday, and it's just about helping product managers be excellent product managers. We are just looking for ways to improve our knowledge, improve our skills, and improve our influence and impact. And this is Holly Jewell. Besides being Jason's partner in all things and bestie from another mother, I also am the president of Product Camp Atlanta. For those in the Atlanta area, Product Camp is a once-a-year event I used to say the best time you could have on a Saturday in Atlanta. Now it could be any day, right? But it's all about the same thing, right? Coming together and learning. And so that is a in-person event similar to a Product Coffee. But I also have the pleasure of leading programming here at Product Coffee. So it's good times.
Awesome. So let's tee it up. Let's get going.
Awesome. Yeah. So thinking about that, what I just said, right? Creating that long-term plan for achieving your company's goals. What are the, I'm interested to hear from, and I will pick on people, the thoughts on what are the key pieces of that. So I'll give you my top 5. When I think of creating a marketing strategy, I think of 5 key elements. To back to my friend Kim's point, not just because she has awesome cats, having a clear understanding of your target audience. Number 1, first and foremost, got to start there. Super important, right? Having, and I love this, a unique value proposition is number 2. So again, Friday's super important because we don't have that, then we're dead in the water before we even get started. And then you got to have effective communication channels. 4, a well-defined brand identity. Right, that would be nice, and I think that's a great wobble space for many of us. Having that it's all about what you consider well defined, but also maybe an identity, and then having a plan. And this becomes our job as product people, especially, right? That plan for measuring and adjusting that strategy ongoing, right? So marketing people often get pulled in and are involved in helping us come up with our marketing strategy for a new product, a new launch, something that gets like a lot of company attention, right? And we can all, we've discussed a lot this month about difficulty sometimes engaging them or having a right amount of marketing involvement in these things from a product perspective. And we've heard from a marketing person their perspective, right, where we fall short. But having that plan is really falls to us because this is going to be our child. This product becomes our baby, right, until we decide to take it out back, and old yeller it behind the woodshed. So those are my 5. So I'm going to toss the ball to Anna McFarland because I'm excited that she's here today and see what your thoughts are with what are the first things that you think of as like key elements that are important, or where do you start with your marketing strategy? She was not warned about this in advance, guys. This is happening live. Sorry, honey. Welcome. Former teacher. Mm-hmm. Sure. No, and I actually think that's a helpful perspective because it is something that it impacts us all differently depending on your product, to your point, or how the company's overall strategy is being rolled out. But so you let me just make sure, like, I'm thinking about this, right? Like, you would be very focused on still like making, of course, from the product side, you got to understand your target audience and you need to have a good value prop, right? So you're doing those pieces, but really past there, you're not having to think about what are the channels or how are we going to do all of those pieces because that's handled at that much broader level is what you're saying. Yeah.
Sure.
Awesome. Lucky you. I wish I could be you in another life. Scott, I see you got your hand up. I knew you'd jump in and have things to say. That's the only reason you didn't get the ball first. You didn't need nudging. Oh. I like that.
Mhm.
I like that. That's an interesting way to think about it. And I have lived something similar with enterprise internal products. So, you think about that. There's not really a marketing strategy beyond making sure that people know about it and know to use it. But you have to think about those other pieces. And we did something similar, like you were talking about with North Stars, and then key strategies. How do you impact that? Utilization, having more users, broader, adding more things so we can support bigger audiences. Steven. Mm.
You have no control over. So there is no guarantee of what you're going to get out of it, no matter how well you put yourself into it. Um, am I? Is this something that you take into consideration with a strategy when you evaluate the success or failure of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So like our outcomes are like when we sign up to a particular outcome, it's usually focused on very specific metrics, and we make sure that they're metrics that we do have control over. So definitely, I mean, any metric can be affected by business outcomes or the market or the economy, things like that. But we try and get down to like we do both leading metrics and trailing metrics, and we try and figure out we usually have multiple metrics that each kind of product is tracking, but they all need to track to that strategy. But we try and get down to the closest possible metric that team or that product can truly control, or at least has a significant amount of control over that metric. So we really try and push our product people away from just saying, I'm going to close more deals, or I'm going to help my product close more deals and increase the close rate of a sale, right? Like there's so many things that could affect the close rate of the sale. But you could get down more specific to say, I'm going to make it so that my product is no longer the deal breaker or the reason that a certain percentage of the sales were lost. So that's kind of where we try and pull people down to something much as close to their product as we can.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Interesting.
So there were a couple questions in the chat and kind of a couple of variations on this conversation as well, asking, where does go-to-market fall under marketing in general? And I want to pull that out a little bit, even further from just go-to-market versus marketing, and talk about the role of product management in the organization in the first place. We often joke, or not even joke, we state, and sometimes with frustration and sometimes with excitement and passion, that the product manager has that P&L accountability, theoretically. Or you've heard people refer to us as the CEO of the mini CEO of the product, the CEO of the product, and we can debate how accurate those terms are, but from a practical standpoint, if we have P&L accountability, whether it's official or we desire to have a positive impact on the P&L, well, that includes profit and loss. So we're responsible for ensuring that we build a product that's viable for the business, and we're responsible for ensuring that it's profitable. And in order to do so, we have to bring it to market. We have to get it to market effectively. We have to make sure that it's resonating. In a lot of companies, and I hear a variety of perspectives here. I hear some people like Anna work in an organization where she's got a strong marketing team that is responsible for the marketing strategy and sounds like they do a really great job. Other people work in...
I don't know if I'd say that.
Well, they do a job.
They
do the job.
You have a warm body doing a job.
Yes.
A lot of people don't.
And very often we work in an organization with a marketing team that's horribly understaffed and is not valued the way it should be in the budget, and needs a lot of help. But if our responsibility is to bring successful products to market, then we have to be helping and understanding not only just how does my feature play into our marketing, how does my product play into our marketing, but overall, what is our company's marketing strategy? How can I help influence that based on my customer discovery work that I'm doing, so that we can make sure that our message is landing in the right way? That gets back to what Holly was talking about at the beginning of the call with kind of those 5 elements. When I was at IBM, we launched the role of offering manager, which was product management plus. And our responsibility was truly soup to nuts, end to end, getting not only the product, but all of the go-to-market out the door. And we were even responsible for routes to market, understanding how leads were generated, how they were responded to. Did we go through digital channels? Did we go through individual selling channels, and so on and so forth? So your company's going to vary. But understanding how your product message is presented to your market and influencing and providing that information is key to having a successful product. All of that to tee up the question for you: how do you do it at your company or your last company if you're currently in between? How has it worked at your company?
Lori, I see you got your hand up. I'll let you jump in first.
Yeah, well, yeah. I don't know how to answer exactly how it's being done, but what I will say is, one of the interesting things that's going on in this new role with the new CEO who came from Amazon is we are being guided to create upstream documentation called PRFAQs. And this is an Amazon technique where basically you start with the end in mind. And you can see when you start digging into these, and I'll drop a link in the chat, when you start digging into these, how the information can then cascade. So you're creating a press release about your future state product, and then developing external and internal stakeholder FAQs. You can see then how the beginnings of the marketing strategy can take shape from that and grow as the product goes through development, which I think is a really interesting approach.
Who else? How have you seen it done? What interesting approaches have you seen? We can edit out the silences, people.
They're not uncomfortable.
I was like, uh-oh, did I just break something?
No,
It was just dead silence.
I'm going to turn into my teacher mode. I'm going to pick on somebody, but I'm going to pick on this person just because I'm excited that she's here. Dawn, I'm so glad to see you again. I know you've done some work with marketing in the past. Do you want to talk about any of that and share your experience?
Hey, Holly.
Hey.
Well, a lot of my experience was with major companies in the, let's say, non-digital period. And then
Dark ages.
Yeah, the dark ages. And then I've done entrepreneurial things. So in the entrepreneurial world, you're not dealing with, um, responding or, meeting the requirements that you typically would have in a company where you've got shareholders to address. But basically, when I was doing marketing on a larger scale, everything happened within the marketing sphere, the product development and the marketing. So that's what the role was of one person or one team. We were doing it all. Nowadays, things are broken into two groups. Product management is, in one world, and marketing is in another. And they're not, let's say, cohesive. So it's a new way of looking at things for me, because actually when I worked at Ciox, I had a product marketing role, and then I worked with the product manager to bring things to market. So, I was understanding what they were doing in product management, and it was my role to figure out how to communicate this new platform to the world. And I did the analysis, the competitive analysis. I did the planning on how to, get the news out, make the product aware, or make people aware of the new product. Mm-hmm. So it's just, a new approach. And what I have come to realize is that product management seems to be more driven by, let's say, developers. And then the role of marketing is more, let's say, like more on the communication side. So hopefully that gives you some insight into how I see things developing over the decades.
Interesting.
Thank you.
You're
Manjeesh.
welcome.
Thank you for calling on me. Sorry, I can't turn my camera on. I'm trying to drive.
That's
so
fine.
I don't want to get in.
Be safe.
Yeah, safety first.
Yes. No, but I was itching to kind of talk on this topic, right? So in my current role, I'm in a very unique position because my company has been, it's like a legacy company, a legacy hardware manufacturer. So they are really kind of nascent when it comes to building digital products. And I come from GE and other places where we've been building a lot of these IoT digital products. So I kind of have that experience backing me up. But I honestly, I had a marketing team in all of those places. So I never really had to don the hat of a marketer. But I'm really like trying to like rise up to the occasion and really understand like we are launching all of these products from scratch. So it gives us a lot of benefit of doing like the market analysis, understanding who our target customers are, target segments are, what is the value proposition, like you're saying, sustainable competitor advantage. How do we achieve all of that? What is our strategy? What is our positioning? How do we go about our tactics? How do we communicate all of these things and provide incentives? What are our channels? Like I get to kind of work in all of that to decide how we want to launch these products which are inside our digital platform. So I'm really excited by the opportunity, but also kind of nervous and scared because I've always had a big team to help me out with that. But I've been going around at conferences and everybody, like, it's not like a Uber and a Lyft, right? Where a Lyft, like you can take a Lyft ride and see what the experience is, understand how your competitors are doing. For me, I have to go in stealth mode and kind of be a researcher from Georgia Tech. That's like my go-to to kind of get competitive intelligence at these conferences. So it's quite tricky to understand where the competition is, where the market is, but I'm really excited with this role.
Well, we're excited for you, but I loved what you said a little bit ago about how you hadn't had to do it yet, but that's why you wanted to learn. And so that you're thinking absolutely right? You want to be ahead of it because we've all been there with something, right? And for me, it was the kind of this marketing side of it. I had been more just like focused on building and delivering a great product, right? And of course, having to have the value prop and a good product strategy. And I see some stuff in the chat that's giving me a little bit of concern. Let's not mix marketing strategy and product strategy, guys. Those are two different things. Next month's theme is product strategy. So we need to separate those two. Those are giant walruses. Let's not mix them together. It'll be a disaster. But that was my focus. And then I suddenly, had responsibility for not just a product at a company, but over a little bit of time, a whole portfolio. And right, wrong, and different, like many have said, I did have marketing people, but they're overworked, right? And they didn't really understand the product marketing piece, right? The go-to-market and the product piece. They kind of had that overall, like, here's how we're going to talk to customers. But, I found myself writing, like Lori, you posted a great resource I'm going to check out later, but I didn't have that resource and I had to write my own press release. And then my marketing people basically were like the police that just said how many characters you were allowed to have. It seemed like that's all my marketing person ever really had feedback for me on when I'd give her like a slick. I wrote the one pagers and the product slicks and all this stuff, like literally customer facing stuff. And she would just come back and be like, yeah, cut out this many characters. I'm like, okay, well, that's fun. Right. But they just kind of give you the rules and the framework. So it's important to be thinking ahead so you're prepared for when you get there. And the most exciting thing I learned out of that experience was really stepping back and thinking about how my product affected that larger whole in the sense of, the marketing communications that I was doing for the launch of a new basically add-on product to a huge product that many FIs I was in the financial space already had could actually impact the brand recognition for the larger company as a whole, because people may not have known, anything about it outside of, we have this piece of software running somewhere in a back closet, but hearing about the new add-on and what that was going to do can impact literally their whole thought process about this huge, huge multinational company. So it's a really interesting thing to pick apart. And I think it's important to think about all those pieces, kind of like we were talking about. Who's next? Some people are going backwards. Rob turned off his camera and threw up his very nice headshot. You look very much like Steve Jobs there. Don't know why, but yeah. It's like, don't call on me. I'm throwing up the headshot.
So one of the things that I think does relate here is Sahel was asking a question in chat that is very much on the cusp and on the edge of product strategy and marketing strategy. And you're asking about the use of product analytics to formulate the strategy, and where that does come into play in the marketing strategy overall is understanding the measures of success and what we're looking at in the product that help us understand that something is working well or where we need changes. And as we're defining what those measures of success are going to look like, or what those elements that we're interested in looking at, that starts to inform the way we want to message the value proposition, the way we want to take the value proposition to the customer. I think the analytics are more important in formulating the product strategy, the development strategy, the evolution strategy, but they're useful in the marketing strategy as well, just in helping to target the messaging toward the right things so that you're calling attention to the benefits and the value that you expect users to receive.
And to add on to what you said, and to be super important to that last point I had, right, about planning and adjusting your marketing strategy. So, if you don't have good analytics on how your product is performing or how your marketing is impacting that performance, then it's kind of hard to know what to change, right? It's like, what do we tweak? If nobody said that the cocoa is too sweet, then, how would we know to reduce the sugar or increase the amount of chocolate? This is not cocoa. It's coffee is fantastic, but still you get the point, right? Like if you don't know what's going on, then you don't know what to change, what levers to pull to affect the change that you might even want, but you don't even know what you're trying to change. And I think that's a dangerous spot to be in. And I see many companies, just to get on that soapbox about analytics, which we'll talk about again next month as well, but trying to affect both a good product strategy and marketing strategy without all of that information, which is kind of dangerous. So who's next? Somebody's got to have a thought on what you've seen with the marketing strategy? Jason's question.
I know
Jerry. Sorry, Jason. You do a lot of, coaching on this from a product perspective. Let me just ask you a very personal question. Do you kind of delve into some of these aspects, or do you kind of set the move from, your product piece there with the value and the product strategy to the marketing aspect? You kind of set that aside, or do you kind of tie it together?
So when it comes to strategy, I don't coach as much in the products, in the marketing strategy space. And so when I think of strategy, I think of the big decisions we have to make around big rocks, right? So I don't coach in that space. And when I am coaching product managers, I encourage them to engage with marketing where it's appropriate. So some of my clients, I have that opportunity, like it's a product that's used by people out in the public, or a B2B situation where product and marketing can get together. Some of my clients, it's an IT type situation. So their customers are internal, and the type of marketing I encourage them to do is just to make sure that they are, it's more about understanding the problem space and being engaged with their end users. It's an IT space, so they don't have anything really to market. They don't internally, their products are used internally. So there's not a market. At least I haven't seen one. If somebody has an idea on how that might work, let me know, because I'm always looking for that edge.
I could challenge that statement. I think, having owned a ton of internal products at multiple companies, but, namely my last role was focused on all of the internal applications used at this very large company. But it's almost like marketing. You're right. It's very different, but I would argue that you have it, and you got to have a good strategy for it. And it's not just, tell people this thing is coming, right? Because everyone was like, raise your hand, right? If you've gotten the corporate memo saying on April 8th, this new product will launch, and you're like, yay, tin cans that don't care, right? Like, okay, great. Well, whenever you force me to use it, or you automatically sign me into it when I log into my PC, I guess that we'll find out what that happens, right? You have to actually do some actual marketing there, and understand what people are looking for from their product, who needs to know about it, and then those channels of communication, right, to drive. But it always goes back to what are you trying to drive? What do you need to accomplish? To Anna's point, like, what are you trying to affect? Are you trying to get utilization? Are you trying to get logins by a certain date? What is it that you're trying to accomplish with it?
I like that perspective, Holly. Thank you. I tend to think of that as stakeholder management, but I see where you're going with that, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Give me both.
I was thinking you appreciate it. I appreciate what I said.
I appreciate you appreciating what I said. I appreciate you as well.
I guess when it comes though to engaging with marketing, one of the mistakes I made early on was to wait till the end. Mm-hmm. And so marketing would be doing their thing, I would be doing my thing, and at the end we would converge. And what I kind of learned through a couple of like really stressful periods trying to get things out and marketed was to pull that back. And so I would start working with marketing on things much earlier. And that PR press release that Lori shared earlier, I have used that technique as a starting point. You kind of from the mindset of start at the end, right?
Love that.
Before you're going to build something, think about what the end goal is going to look like, and then use that through the process to keep yourself in sync with marketing and understand what they're seeing and share what you're learning with them.
Totally, 100%. And just sorry to riff on that. Like, I love what you just kicked back to Lori's article, but it just made me think, actually, and I've done that, but thinking of the difference with internal tools, right? Just because it's an internal tool doesn't mean that you don't need to do some of these same things, right? Or it's not a good practice. So it's something, especially just to help yourself have the skill to do it, right? Write a press release, even if you have an internal product, or you're training or teaching people who have internal products, still having them go through the exercise of writing that press release. one helps them think, like you just said, which I loved, about like, where's the end game? What are you trying to accomplish, right, earlier on? But also can be a great communication tool, whether the company has an intranet site, like Scott mentioned in the chat, or like a newsletter that goes out, or some sort of other communication channel for things like new tool or product launches or updates or whatever, right? There's a place for that to go. And I mean, how good does it look for you as a, whatever phase of your career, product manager with an internal tool, if you're still doing those types of things, and it's letting you hone that ability and that skill set to do it, and also show people that you have it. So when the time comes for an external facing product, or, a larger role, it shows your value, to Jason's point earlier with the offering manager, at IBM.
And one of the things, we've been focused so much this month on the value proposition and how that relates to your marketing. And if you go back and think about, a lot of product managers, a lot of product people come from an engineering background. A lot of people come from a design background. A lot come from, a lot come from a business background. There are lots of different ways we get to product. I come from a business background, and I studied marketing in university, and kind of the fundamental core marketing tenet is, we talked about the marketing mix, which is the 4 P's of marketing that many of you have heard and some of you may not be familiar with. But the 4 P's of marketing are product, price, place, and promotion. Mm-hmm. And so the marketing mix starts with the product. And we've been talking a lot this month about the product value proposition, which is fundamentally talking about what we're doing, what we're delivering, but more importantly, who we're delivering it for and why we're doing it. What is the market need that we are solving for? So the reason that that we're having this conversation here today is, I think too often product professionals get so focused on the delivery, so focused on shipping, that we forget the reason for being and how to communicate that and how to make sure that we're creating that alignment. So, and we've heard a lot of conversation here today about different organizations, and I've got a marketing team that's responsible for that, being clearly aware of and comfortable with and having full understanding of why the marketing team is doing what it's doing, and enabling them to do so successfully helps your product to fit into that marketing mix in a more complete, more powerful way. Laurie, you've had your hand up for a minute, so I'm going to let you come in.
Thanks. Going back to the comment on having internal products, one of the things that I found really, really helpful, and this was derived from the marketing strategy, but was actually the creation of messaging guides for key users within the organization. And I know that for an externally facing product, the product team may not be in charge of that level of granularity. That at that point, that may go over to marketing. However, having the that clarity based on your personas, and then the development of the subsequent marketing guide or messaging guide, really streamlined and clarified when I rolled it across the rest of my team, what they could and should be saying to get the most impact, to get into people's heads so that they had that aha moment. And adoption was much faster that way.
I love it. Give them the reason, right? Draw their attention to it. So key. George.
To dovetail on Laurie's point, I thought we did on one of the rollouts that we had a large company of mine, that we had a nice aha moment in the communication, and we still didn't get the buy-in that we were looking for. And it just, because we reduced to doing it the old-fashioned way and it worked, the company did not embrace the new technology, new process improvement. And so you really had to put on your selling hat to sell that product. And I found it incredibly frustrating that what did I miss on my marketing plan, the marketing rollout to get people to buy in? Why didn't they just dive in, buy in wholeheartedly? You have to overcome that. We've always done it this way. It works this way, so we're going to continue to do it this way. And constantly preaching that, you really have to take them by the hand and just say, this is going to help you. I want to show you how it's going to help you. And then you go through those processes.
Yeah, I think you just hit it on the head. And of course, I have an insider advantage because I think I know exactly what you're talking about. For those who don't know, George and I used to work together. Extreme privilege on my side. Can't speak for George, but right, it's
extreme privilege. Let me tell you, I'm sorry to interrupt, and that is something I need to stop. But she needs to reverse that statement, and that's all I'm going to say.
Oh, thank you, George. Thank you so much. But anyway, I think it's almost even more important, kind of going back to my conversation with Jerry and what he was saying, like, and to your point, it's almost more important when you're dealing with an internal thing, right? Because you've really got to communicate hard what's that value for that person, that user, right? You definitely are selling. You're selling harder than you would if you were, just trying to get money from somebody, right? Because as human beings, we hate change, right? And you have to think about that when you're selling a product too, right? If you're asking a user to change a behavior by using your product, sometimes it almost feels like it doesn't matter how much better it will make their life, right? It's changing a core behavior. Like when when a little company did a thing and they built what became eventually Zelle, right? We were changing an entire mindset around how we give people money. Your grandmother doesn't need to write you a check and put it in a card and put it in the mail, right? She can now, let's pretend grandmother uses her phone, right? She can use her phone and she can send it to you right now. And she can still send you a flowery message, right? And all of that stuff you get as a text or an email. So sometimes just thinking about, even when you're thinking of the product, and then also when you're thinking of the marketing, how you need to change that user's behavior, I think is so key to what George was saying, is like that you really are needing to market that. What's the value for them? Why should they change? Why should they use the new thing? And explaining that over and over and over again in a way that resonates so that you can drive that piece that you're looking for, whatever that is, right? Utilization, like we said before, buying the product, whatever the action is that we're trying to improve here.
If I can jump in on that one,
please.
When we're looking at external customers, right, there may be a market prioritization, right? There might be a particular region, there might be a particular market segment, whatever. Same thing applies for the internal products. The wind will eventually be at your back if you can find the right people to start with. And in our case, with the one big product we launched was with HR. Everybody knows HR, and we knew that we could knock it out of the park for the product that we were offering, solve some really big problems for the HR team. And of course, because everybody interacts with HR in some capacity or another, they became our biggest advocates. And what happened was it became a snowball effect and worked to our advantage. So that might be another piece of your strategy, particularly if you're working internally, is to look across the organization, determine who is going to be your best bet for initial launch if you have the luxury of rolling this out gradually, if it's not a big bang. Or if it is a big bang, where do you want to build your raving fans first?
Your product evangelists, yes.
That's right. Recruit them then to help persuade other people.
And I think that goes back to Jerry's point on stakeholders, right? Like, you can think of them as stakeholders, or you can think of them as your product evangelists, but find the people that you can get on your side and get their buy-in early. And then I love what you just said, Lori, right? Like, get them, then they become your voice, right? Get that, and George, I know we tried to do this in some cases, which were very successful, right? You get somebody on a team that you need to do a thing and get them on board early, right? And then they become the one that's raving at their team in a meeting, right? It's not even us anymore. It's like they're getting told by their own people, like, why are you doing it that way? Oh my God, no, I use the new thing. Did George not show you how to do this? It's awesome. So much better. Steven, I know you got your hand up. Oh, sorry.
Just a quick question. Started with what George was saying, coming down to like taking some hard selling to really do what you're doing, and you sort of dived off of that a little bit yourself. I was just wondering for George, how much can you take into account how much trust your customer base in general has in your brand and what you're doing with the product that would help determine how you need to sell to them and how hard you need to sell? Because I mean, if you have to sell really hard, it could be that you don't have the trust from them that you'd like them to have So when you get there, it's easy to sell.
That's a great point, Stephen. And how I tried to overcome that is I got my people who I wanted to be my people who would go forth and just talk about it. I just went mental blank about what Holly just said, who to just call my people who are going to support my product. And I walked through and showed it how it would benefit. And then what we did after that, after we sent the communication, I believe our biggest audience that we had that I'd specifically laid out had sent some training documentation. I rolled out, I think I had like 80 or 90 people. And I made sure I was methodical, slow, and how the enhancement was going to work. And then I showed where it was, what we're doing right now, and how this was making it much better. And I'm absolutely convinced that this is just, I can't remember the exact, if I had 90 people on there, I know I got at least 50%. And then I did it again. Maybe I had like 75 the second time. But as long as I knew I could get half of them, it would spread. And that's how I overcame a lot of the things. And once I did that, as I kept going on, and I did this for about a month or month and a half training. And I did it twice a week so I could make sure that when I was doing it, I made sure I was adhere to early people Eastern time zone as well as those in the West. So I was doing it twice a day for 6 or 7 weeks. I was able to get the people buy-in, and removing the obstacles. Yes, thank you, Holly.
Yeah, no problem. And he had a really hard time, getting the buy-in and support on that from his product leader, because that was such a huge investment of time.
Yeah, and Stephen, because, and I like to use this phrase, and I don't know if Holly remembers it, is leadership is looking for something, and I hope you can use this. Everything's got to be done yesterday. And the process of patience sometimes is something that you, as the product manager, has to overcome from above and show them how things are getting better. So that's another point of selling the process to above you and below you.
And I'm just going to call out too Lori's comment in the chat. I love that so much because yes, don't forget, right? We talk about this with stakeholder management and stuff, but like the tactics, right? And not necessarily just being a good, relatable person, right? Remember to engage with people as people, like several people have said in the session. Scott, I know, mentioned it earlier in the chat, but don't be afraid to engage however you need to. And in those internal situations, maybe you need to go for tacos, however that is, right? Engage with people meet them where they need you to meet them to change that.
Jerry asked if we collaborate early and often, do we really need to sell into the business? And Jerry, I think that goes back to the repetition is key. Keeping that message consistent and ever present is key, because we have lots of messages coming towards us, and things get lost, things get forgotten, things get deprioritized, or the latest most urgent thing comes and kind of takes over the mind share. So ensuring that you're keeping that mind share, keeping the focus on the right things at the right times is really, really key.
Yeah. And by collaborating early and often, I agree with you, Stephen, that is kind of selling incrementally, but it's also involving our customers in the solution. As we understand the problem, involving them in the solution, so that when we are rolling things out, it's not a we're not selling, right? I've seen folks go off and do their own thing, and then they're like pressuring the business, pushing it into the business, and at some point you've got an emotional attachment to it. So you're trying to I love this thing, so you should love this thing. Please love this thing because I love this thing. Whereas if you've built those relationships and collaborated and involved them in the process along the way, yes, you're selling it incrementally, Stephen, but you're also changing at the same time as you gain a better understanding.
I love that. And that's an easy one to think of internally, but it works externally to your point. I know you were probably talking externally as well, right? Like if I think customers, engaging them in that, whether it's through an official, like a customer advisory board, or you just have those key customer relationships, right? That you're bouncing ideas and thoughts off of, or they told you about a problem. And so you're working with them on what that solution could look like. Then when you are releasing that solution to market, whether that's a new feature or a new product, they're selling it for you, both internally in their organization or in that broader customer group, right? They're telling other people, oh, I'm so excited about that coming release because it has the blah, blah feature and it's going to be amazing, right? And that's fantastic. Or they're telling people that they should definitely buy this product because it's what they've been waiting for forever because blah, 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 right? And that's huge. And you can do the same thing internally to your point with that. I totally agree with collaborate early and often, but I would just add that you're often going to still need that final push because also you can't collaborate whether you're talking about external customers or internally with everyone, right?
Yeah,
you just can't. And if you're collaborating internally, you're talking probably to a key player or a decision maker or a leader in a given space, right? But that doesn't mean that actually got buy-in from their team. And I think to George's earlier point, his trial and eventual success story that he was sharing was dealing with exactly that. That someone at the leader level and some broader leadership meeting went, yeah, great, that sounds good, write it down, okay, and then told the team on day X this will happen, and thou shalt use the new application, okay, great. But that doesn't actually mean that their team agreed. That means their team heard a message, maybe. Or said, I didn't read that email, even though it came from the CEO.
That was the best. Your comment there, Holly, about the executive telling the team on the day that they shall use it. That was the best feedback I ever got in an MPS survey. And I won't get on my my anti-MPS soapbox.
Oh, good. Let's save that for another day, and I can jump on there with you.
Yeah. The best comment that I heard from we had a B2B tool was, I didn't choose to use this. I was told to use this.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I was like, there you go.
How likely are you to recommend this to someone else? Well, I have no choice.
I have no choice.
So, hey, we're at the top of the hour. We've only got a couple minutes left here. I want to thank everybody for participating in this discussion. Coming at it from the product side, understanding how we fit into the marketing strategy is really hard, and it's not always straightforward for everyone. And that's been kind of our goal here today, is to kind of stretch the mind a little bit. And I want to thank everybody who brought some great insights and some great experiences to that discussion. Also want to thank our first-time visitors, Laurel, Vishnavi, and Damon, and welcome back to Dawn. Glad to see you here as well. So, and it's been a fantastic morning. Real quickly, as a reminder, we've got coming up this Friday the workshop, and you can go to productcoffee.com and get all the details on that. Productcoffee.com/toolbox will give you the value proposition not to-do list that you can download that for free and get a 25% discount on the workshop, or you can sign up for a free trial of Product Coffee Premium if you're not already a member and get the workshop completely free this Friday, and find out about all the workshops that you get from Product Coffee throughout the course of the year. Hope you can join us for that.
Hope you can join us as a Product Coffee Premium member, because this is where the party is.
And absolutely, and Holly, we're teeing up. We're at the end of March.
Yes.
What are we going to do in April?
So what we're going to do in April, guys, the same thing we do every night. Try to take over the world. Oh, that's a different thing. That's never mind. Sorry. But what we're going to do in April is kind of like we were saying earlier. We're focused on marketing strategies, right, this month. Next month, we're going to look at product strategy. So how do we formulate that? How do we know if we have a good one? All the things we talk about, right? The good, the bad, the ugly. Let's talk about product strategy. That's our April. And I'm super excited for that.
Yep. It's going to be a great month. So we will see you back here. Hopefully to see you all on Friday at the workshop. And if not, we'll see you back here next Wednesday. Have a great week, everybody.
Stay caffeinated.
Take care.
But don't burn yourself.
No, don't.
See you guys. Thank you.